The year our son was born was the same year Laura was wrapped up in an affair with her lover. At the baby's 100-day celebration, she transferred all the shares in her name to our son. I know I've wronged you. This is a little compensation for you and your father. I'm leaving the money for you and the child. I plan on giving my love to him. Her lover, trailing behind her, chimed in sourly. So what if you got a pile of money, Mr. Miller? I may not have gotten a dime, but I got the love. Before I could say anything, Laura stepped in front of him, her face tight with anxiety. Later, when Laura wanted to come back to the family, she knelt in the courtyard all night. I was wrong. Let's have a good life together from now on. I laughed, so hard my eyes turned red. What makes you think I'd be willing to do that? Love is only beautiful when it gets ugly. Love is only beautiful when it's broken beyond recognition. Before the 100-day party started, our nanny brought Ben downstairs. My mother-in-law held him and refused to let go. My in-laws have always been low-key people, but this time for Ben's party, they'd been preparing for months, sending out invitations to friends and business partners from all circles early on. After 5 years, my in-laws were utterly smitten with their new grandson. Once they had him in their arms, they couldn't bear to let him go. I had just come downstairs when Laura's car pulled into the driveway. She wanted to hold the baby, but my mother-in-law stopped her. The first time she held our son, she carelessly dropped him on the floor. There wasn't a hint of guilt in her words or her tone. It was infuriating. Laura averted her gaze and walked over to me. Jacob, let's go upstairs and talk. There are a few documents I want you to see. I didn't need to go upstairs later, so I didn't stop her. Today was Ben's 100-day party. I didn't want to argue with anyone. A line of people followed behind Laura. They all went upstairs with us. Laura had several lawyers waiting in the third-floor banquet hall. We went to our room on the second floor first. Standing at the vanity, I calmly put on the watch I'd be wearing to greet the guests. Laura stood by the sofa, a lazy expression on her face, trying to make small talk. That outfit looks great on you today. The watch just wouldn't clasp right, and I was getting frustrated. Shut up, would you? I shot her a look. I don't want to hear a single word of commentary from you about me. Laura smirked. Fine. If it makes you unhappy, I won't say anything. Can't even take a compliment. There are people lining up outside waiting for me to praise them. If it weren't for the kid, you think I'd put up with your attitude? The person who dares to give me a sour face hasn't been born yet. After finally getting the watch on, I selected a pair of elegant cufflinks. Laura's reflection was visible in the mirror. For a second, our eyes met. Laura was wearing the gown I had custom made for her last year. She was good-looking, but after having the baby, she seemed a bit. It was puffy. She was only 39. I didn't understand why she was aging so quickly. In fact, she had less vitality than her own mother. You could tell she'd been soaked in a life of indulgence for years. She hadn't worked a day in a decade and paid no attention to the company. It was clear she enjoyed this leisurely life. Watching her, I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Laura's favorite lover, Leo, had self-published a book praising his muse as the constant center of attention at every party, effortlessly charming in her every move, exuding the grace of an old money heiress. He used flowery language to describe Laura's beauty and wealth, writing that she had both the aura of a high society darling and the innocence of a young girl, making her the object of affection for countless wealthy bachelors. After reading that book, I almost burst out laughing. 39 years old, and he's calling her a young girl. It was beyond ridiculous. But I couldn't deny that Leo had played his cards well. That romantic biography, more than half of which was generated by AI, cemented his place in Laura's heart. For him, Laura had even dismissed all her other male companions. How could you not call that exclusive devotion? When I finished adjusting my clothes and turned around, Laura's eyes were fixed on my hand. You, Jacob Miller, you actually took off your ring. I followed her gaze to the ring finger on my left hand. Why should I wear it? Laura lowered her head, her expression tinged with anger. As long as we're not divorced, you are my husband and the future man of the Vance family. How dare you disrespect me like this? Take a good look at yourself in the mirror. You're like a completely different person. I had more important things to deal with, so I didn't get into a fight with her. After venting for a while, she finally calmed down and handed me a file. Take a look at this. I plan to transfer all the shares in my name to Ben. I calmly took the document. Laura wasn't lying. Once this document took effect, Ben would own an additional 10% of the Vance Group's shares. The Vances were one of the most prominent families in New York. Even though it was only 10%, it was by no means a small sum. It was enough for one person to live lavishly for 10 lifetimes and still not spend it all. Adding the 5% my father-in-law had transferred to Ben on the day he was born, that made 15%. By the time Ben turned 18, he could become a major shareholder with that 15% stake. And until he came of age, everything in his name would be under my control. Jacob, Laura said, her tone suddenly serious. I know I've let you and our son down. This is a little something to make up for it. Fearing I might not accept, she added, this is for you and the child. Don't turn your nose up at money. Accept it for Ben's sake. I looked up at Laura. Just a moment ago, she was having a meltdown. How did she suddenly learn to speak like a normal person? When someone's this nice out of the blue, they're usually up to something. But for money, the future of my 2 children, I would do anything. I wouldn't argue with her again until the contract was officially signed. After I poured her a cup of oolong tea, Laura seemed to be in a much better mood. That's more like it, Jacob. As long as you're gentle like you used to be, I won't divorce you. You can relax and continue being Mr. Miller. I just gave my love to Leo, but I'll still come home. I fought the urge to vomit and remain silent. In Laura's perpetually narcissistic view, she took that as my consent. You know, my personality isn't suited for business. Everyone in that world is so fake, including my own parents. I'm a passionate person who's all about being genuine, and I just can't connect with them. My mom isn't too happy with me, so she probably won't hand over the family business anytime soon. That's why I only have this many shares. Don't think it's too little. When Mia was born, Mom transferred 12 of the shares to her name and set aside a fixed amount of gold for her in a bank. She was only a month old, and she already had more to her name than I did as her mother. So I didn't see the point in adding more to the pile. The more Laura talked like a rational person, the more I started to find her tolerable. Now it's finally come in handy, Jacob. Everything I own is now for you and our son. Laura gave a phony smile and started praising herself. I might not be a faithful wife, but I'm definitely a good mother. You can't argue with that, right? Smoking in our daughter's room, dozing off while holding our son. And Laura still had the gall to say that. I really wanted to pour that pot of oolong tea over her head. But for the money, I held back. Yes, you're a wonderful mother. You have both kids in your heart. I can't deny that I've seen all your efforts. I feigned a sigh. It's just that we weren't meant to be, but let's not let it affect the children. Ben and Mia both love you very much as their mother. A few words of praise were enough to make Laura beam. The smile on her face grew wider. Laura was right about one thing. Money is innocent. No one should have a problem with money. For the money and for my children, I would make sure to get my hands on every last one of her shares. After the party, come with me to the 3rd floor to sign the papers with the lawyers. Once it's notarized, the documents will be official. Let's go now, I said patiently. You're a busy person with a lot of friends. So many people want to see you, and I don't want to hold you up from your important business. Okay, Laura quickly agreed. She was 39 this year. By all rights, she should be at the peak of her career and full of ambition. But in reality, she was a complete waste. 15 years ago, Laura was beautiful and elegant. One look at her, and you knew she must have grown up in a life of privilege. That sense of ease about her was something you couldn't fake. She was nothing like me, unloved by my family and covered in thorns. Back then, to be honest, Laura was an excellent marriage prospect. She was one of a kind in our circle, not one of those spoiled heiresses who squandered their family fortunes, nor one of those hyper-responsible second-generation heirs bent on taking their family to the next level. Though she loved to brag, she had no grand ambitions and disliked hard work. Her character was at least not fundamentally flawed. She loved cats and dogs. She would set aside time every year to visit orphanages and spend time with children who had no families. Back then, I was too young and thought she was a truly good person. It was only in recent years that I found out it was all a show to build a good reputation in our circle. I blame myself for being too young then, for mistaking a fish eye for a pearl. For the first 5 years of our marriage, Laura was for the most part a good wife and mother. She loved to cook and would wait for my feedback and praise. She knew all my preferences, remembered my birthday and our wedding anniversary. She also adored children. After our daughter Mia was born, Laura said she would definitely be a great wife and mother. And she was. She was considerate to me in every way and doted on our child. She savored every moment of family time. Even when Mia went through her terrible twos, Laura never said a harsh word to her. 6 years into our marriage, countless people said that even though it was an arranged marriage, my wife was a gentle and beautiful lady from a prestigious family, without a trace of temper or arrogance, and none of the bad habits of other spoiled heiresses. Moreover, her looks and figure could rival a movie star's. No matter how you looked at it, I, the one from slightly less prominent family, was the one who had lucked out. A friend once said with conviction, "When you're choosing a partner, don't pick someone who is good to you only because they love you. Pick someone who is just a good person by nature. That way, even if the love fades, you won't end up hurting each other." In her eyes, Laura was that kind of person. At the time, I didn't pay much attention to my friend's casual remark. But looking back now, both my friend and I were blind. Laura liked children because she could play the role of the doting mother. With more than a dozen nannies around Mia, there was no need for her to worry about any of the actual caregiving. All she had to do was play with the child, so of course, she had no reason to dislike it. As for her love of cooking, it was simply a hobby, and she loved being praised. Looking closely, I noticed a few new fine lines around Laura's eyes. Time is cruel, always finding ways to leave its mark on a person's face. But Laura was too proud. She never bothered with skincare, never wore sunscreen, all under the guise of substance is more important than appearance. So whenever we attended important events together, the media would always joke that Laura looked a decade older than me. Because of that, Laura shut down 3 tabloids in a fit of rage. It became another joke in high society. "Ms. Vance, Mr. Miller, if there are no issues, you may." Ignoring this share transfer agreement, I had no objections. I took the document and pen, and without a moment's hesitation, signed my name. The 10% stake was now finally my son's. When Ben is old enough to understand, he will definitely be a good filial son to you, I said politely. Unexpectedly, Laura took it seriously. Of course he will. You won't find a more reasonable and generous mother in the whole world. She was always like this, with no real attachment to money. She was forever free, forever gentle, forever loving. She could be good to someone, but she could also retract that love at any moment and give it to someone else. People like her, who love so freely, are the downfall of people like me, who have learned to feel nothing. Laura handed me the signed documents. "You should check them again." My gaze fell on Laura's slightly weary face. Finally, I could stop pretending. Without her shares, what use did Laura have anymore? Downstairs, my praise must have sparked a flicker of maternal love, because Laura was searching everywhere for our son. "Let me hold him," Laura said again, spotting my mother-in-law playing with Ben. Seeing that I didn't object, my mother-in-law finally handed the baby to Laura. Laura awkwardly adjusted her posture. Our son was not happy in her arms. She hadn't held a baby in a long time and had forgotten a knack for it. Ben struggled in Laura's arms, twisting and turning on the verge of tears. Laura was at a loss and looked to her mother for help. My mother-in-law eventually took the baby back. Laura was a little displeased. "Why is he like this? I'm his mother. Why isn't he warming up to me? Since he was born, you've held him exactly once, and you dropped him. Why on earth should he like a mother like you?" My mother-in-law had grown increasingly dissatisfied with Laura over the years. It was as if there had been a genetic mutation. How could such principled parents have produced a train wreck like Laura? Laura didn't talk back to her mother. Instead, she pulled me aside. "How can my mom treat me like this? I'm her daughter, but she's never satisfied with me. And Ben, he's so disappointing. I remember Mia being so well-behaved and sensible when she was little. Why can't Ben learn from his sister?" I couldn't help but glance at Laura. Expecting emotional validation from a baby this small, she was truly one of a kind. When she saw I wasn't responding, Laura's face immediately soured. She was always like this. A professional actor couldn't change expressions as fast as she could. Just then, Mia came down from upstairs, and Laura immediately went over to her. Mia, have you missed Mommy lately? The last time I saw you was a year ago. Mia was not exaggerating in the slightest. Mommy is the face of the Vance family. I have to go to a lot of social events, Laura said, walking closer. You're so tall now. Let Mommy have a look. In a little while, how about Mommy introduces you to an uncle? Laura coaxed her gently. Mia, do you like having a little brother? The uncle outside already has a little boy. Mommy can bring him home for you to play with later. Will you cut it out? I interrupted her. Why would you say something like that in front of child? Laura fell silent. Mia looked up at Laura. Mom, are you talking about your illegitimate son? Laura was overjoyed. Yes, but he's also your little brother. When I bring him over, you have to be nice and not bully him, okay? A small smirk touched the corner of Mia's lips. She ran to her grandfather, feigning innocence. Grandpa, are you going to abandon me? Mom said she's going to have an illegitimate son, and I have to give way to my little brother. Grandpa, I won't bully my brother. Please don't kick me out, okay? My father-in-law shot a look at Laura. The expression on Laura's face was absolutely priceless. You little, haven't I been good to you? How could you tattle on me like that? Get out, my father-in-law said, his tone impatient. Laura, you've really outdone yourself saying things like that to a child. After getting a lecture in the third-floor study, Laura refused to leave. She dragged me back to our room and spoke in a placating tone. Jacob, you must have figured out why I transfer my shares to Ben. I'm trying to show you goodwill. Can't you see that I want you to put in a good word for Leo with Mom and Dad? You can't just take the money and not do your part. Mom finds fault with me every day and has ordered me to break things off with Leo completely. But I don't want to. I just want a home here and a home outside. Why is that so hard? How does me living my life with Leo on the side bother any of you? I've already shown so much sincerity. What are you still unhappy about? I may have given him my love, but I left the money for you and the kids. That's perfectly fair. I let out a soft laugh, but didn't respond. It was too late. Laura was saying all this far too late. I already had the money. Whether the favor got done or not, what did it matter? A Laura with no leverage was worthless. She had no chips left to negotiate with me. I entered the main hall for the party. 12-year-old Mia was by my side, looking at me with a serious expression. Dad, I won't let anyone make you sad. A wave of guilt washed over me. Mia had said the same thing 6 months ago. Even though she was young, she had already realized her mother didn't love her. But she still yearned for a mother's love. Parents may not inherently love their children, but children will always love their parents. Mia waited in the hospital for a full day and night. By the time her fever broke, Laura still hadn't shown up. In the 3 minutes I was out of the room to get something, she had secretly unlocked my phone. She opened the trending topics on X, and there it was, a scandalous headline about Laura. The paparazzi had revealed that Laura had forced a rising young star to break up with his girlfriend, paying him a hefty sum as compensation. Mia looked up at me. Her lips were white from the high fever. Does Mom have other kids besides me and Ben? Why? Is it because I'm not good enough? But in her heart, she already knew the answer. As I was busy checking every last detail of the party setup, a slick voice cut through the air. I turned to see Leo standing at the entrance of the hall. Before I could even ask him where he got the nerve to show up at the family estate, Leo strode toward me in his handmade leather shoes, completely ignoring my glare. His well-tailored Armani suit outlined his tall frame, and he looked radiant. Congratulations, Mr. Miller. I stood there looking at his slightly arrogant smile and didn't respond. Leo decided to press on, his eyes darting back and forth between Laura and me. Mr. Miller, Ms. Vance prepared the share transfer agreement a while ago. She said she was leaving all her shares to you and the kids. I'm so jealous, suddenly having such a massive stake. But Leo's tone shifted, his eyes filled with envy. Some people are just destined to live out their days with only money for company. As for love, they won't get a single drop. It's truly pathetic. Looking at the jealousy he couldn't hide beneath his handsome face, I found it almost laughable. After all this time, he was still the same. He never learned restraint, never learned when to quit while he was ahead. Is that so? I smiled, unfazed. I glanced at Leo, meeting his eyes. True love conquers all. I hope you keep telling yourself that. Leo's face instantly turned ugly. He shot me a resentful look, then turned his frustration on Laura. Ms. Vance, Laura stepped between us, trying to smooth things over. Jacob, that's enough. Leo just wanted to come and offer his congratulations. He means no harm. He's not great with words, so don't take it to heart. You're a grown man. Why are you bickering with a young guy? It makes you look classless. Today is our son's 100-day party. Don't make me slap you in a place like this, I said, looking at Laura, my nails digging into my palms. Why are you so angry? Laura said, looking annoyed. I'm just telling the truth. If you were as innocent and kind as he is, do you think I would have cheated? With a sharp crack, I slapped Laura across the face. I told you I didn't want to get physical, but you just had to push me. That evening, after the party was completely over, Laura still hadn't left. When I'd hit her, I'd dealt with her little lover at the same time. She had been fuming all afternoon. Jacob Miller, I told you a dozen times to apologize to Leo. Didn't you hear me? I had no desire to get entangled with her and turned to leave. But Leo blocked my path. Jake, if you're really that upset, I'll apologize to you, he said, his tone dripping with insinuation. I can say I'm sorry, but you need to learn to accept reality. No one in this world loves another person forever. Why can't you and Laura just part amicably? She stopped loving you a long time ago. Why can't you just divorce her? Leo said, lifting his head with a proud look. In the next instant, he was hit with a slap from my mother-in-law. Seeing my mother-in-law approach, Laura called out, Mom, how could you do that? In a flash, she was slapped too. Laura, oh Laura, my mother-in-law said, pointing a finger at her, trembling with rage. You have the nerve to ask me why? Why don't you take a look at the mess you've made, Laura, since you were a child? Your father, and I taught you step by step how to be a person, how to conduct yourself. Is this how you behave as a wife? Mom, listen to me, Laura whispered, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity. This is between me and Jacob. We'll handle it. Can you please leave us to it? For someone of my status, do you really expect me to only love one person my whole life? Leo loves me, which means I'm desirable. Laura, my mother-in-law, said, her face a mask of shock. How can you be so brazenly shameless? How did I end up with a daughter like you? Today is your son's 100-day party, an event a person only has once in their life. Everyone has been happily preparing for this day for so long, and you just had to come back, bring that man with you, and let him spout all this nonsense. Are you fit to be a wife? Are you fit to be a mother? Ma'am, Leo started, unwilling to stay silent. My mother-in-law shot him a cold glare. You shut your mouth. Do you have any right to speak here? He'll let you in. Are you worthy of being here today? You think you're so special because you're young? So what if you're 20? Does being 20 give you the right to be a homewrecker? Does being 20 give you the right to show up at someone else's family event and say whatever garbage comes to your mind? What on earth did your parents teach you to make you so utterly shameless? The color drained from Leo's face. My mother-in-law had always been a refined lady, well known in our circles for her good temper. But now she was tearing away all pretense, laying everything bare. It was crystal clear and cut straight to the bone. Leo stopped arguing with her and turned to me instead. Mr. Miller, please talk to your mother-in-law. I know my actions were inappropriate, but I never meant to make you angry. I met Leo's gaze and spoke calmly. If you know you speak inappropriately, then you should learn to keep your mouth shut and stop embarrassing yourself over and over again. A flash of resentment crossed Leo's eyes before he lowered his head. With my mother-in-law's approval, I had my staff escort Leo and Laura out. At the main gate of the estate, I asked with utmost sincerity, Laura, why couldn't you have just died in the year I loved you most? That way, you never would have become this hideous version of yourself. I was only 10 when I first met Laura. Back then, she was 3 years older but much taller than me. After my mother died, my father quickly remarried and paid less and less attention to me. He used to love me so much. He loved my mother so much too. But the shelf life of love is so short. The father who once held me in the palm of his hand, who watched with my mother as I learned to walk, who held my hand every day to take me to kindergarten, soon became a different person. After my mother died, in a car accident, my father held me and cried in the hospital corridor. He comforted me over and over, saying that even though my mother was gone, he would always love and protect me. At that moment, I was absolutely certain that he loved me and that he truly cared for me. But 3 years later, the young woman who had killed my mother became my stepmother. For me, that moment was like a bolt from the blue. The young woman who killed my mother was named Sherry. At my mother's memorial service, she knelt before my father, her voice choked with sobs, on the verge of collapse. "Sir, it's my fault. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have been on my phone while driving. I shouldn't have run the red light. I know I was wrong. Please, I'm begging you, don't press charges. I don't want to go to jail. I'm still so young. I've never even had a boyfriend. If you send me to prison, my life will be ruined." My father's eyes were filled with hatred. He had someone drag Sherry away. But later, he fell in love with her. How ridiculous. On the path to seeking justice for my mother, he fell in love with the killer. In the 3rd year after losing my mother, I completely lost my father. I was no longer his only son. He didn't even treat me like a son anymore. The first time my stepmother hit me, I was 8. My father felt a pang of guilt, but he didn't blame her. Instead, he had to talk with me that night. "Jacob, you're the older brother. You need to learn to give in to your little brother. He's still little, isn't he? How could you argue with him?" That day I, who had always been strong, felt so wrong that I could barely speak. "Dad, you're right. He's only 7. But I'm only 9. Why do I have to be the one to give in? Why? He's the one who ripped up my homework. He's the one who scratched my face. All I did was ask him to give my notebook back. Why am I the one who got hit in the end?" My father didn't give me an answer. He was unwilling to admit that his heart had already strayed. But that was the truth. Even if I couldn't accept it, most of the time, I just had to. When I was 10, I was wandering in a park after school when I saw a man holding a child's hand walking toward me. "You're Jacob Miller, right? I was your mom's best friend when we were little. We grew up together." The man, who loved camellias just like my mother, patted my head. "Kid, when you were little, your parents took you abroad to stay at my house. Back then, I even said I wanted to make you my godson. Do you remember?" I didn't remember. But in that moment, I really felt like I was seeing my mother again. Just as I was slowly answering the man's questions, my stepmother's son ran out. "Hey, my brother, only 2 years younger than me," said, yanking my hair as he ran past. "Why are you hanging around here instead of going home? Careful you don't get kidnapped. And why didn't you go home? Are you scared I'll rip up your homework again?" So what if I did? My stepbrother didn't run off. He circled me. The second time he made a face at me, the girl standing next to the man grabbed him by the collar. "Is this how your parents taught you to rip up someone's homework and act like you're proud of it?" That was the first time she and I looked at each other face to face, seeing my stepbrother dangling in her grip. I felt a wave of sweet relief. It was the first time since my mother died that someone had stood up for me. In the long years that followed, I always vividly remembered that scene. A person starved for love will remember a casual act of kindness for a long, long time. I was that kind of person. After being kicked out of the house, Laura vanished from New York for a solid week, as if she'd evaporated. In a small corner of the financial papers, a prominent headline announced the good news of old Mr. Vance's electronics subsidiary about to ring the bell for its IPO in the U.S. Meanwhile, in the entertainment section, an equally glaring headline screamed, "Vance heiress allegedly dumped." Spotted on a secret getaway to Miami with a new flame, accompanied by a blurry long lens photo, on the beach under a sun umbrella, a young man in swim trunks leaned intimately over a woman on a lounge chair, the two of them kissing freely. It was Laura and Leo. My in-laws took turns calling Laura, but their numbers had been blocked. Laura was always like this. She had blocked everyone in the Vance household at one point or another, including the butler and the nannies. At the end of the month, just as I'd finished a major acquisition project, I received a sudden call from Mia's homeroom teacher. Ms. Warren's voice was frantic, her tone distorted with the sounds of a chaotic argument in the background. Ms. Vance and Mr. Leo are here at the school. They said they want to take Mia to the amusement park. Mia refuses to go, and an argument broke out. The situation is getting a little out of control. I could hear the sounds of struggle over the phone. Let go of me. Let go. I don't want to go with you. I don't know him. You're not my mom. Get away from me. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by a fist. I was too furious to speak. Ms. Warren, please try to stop her, I said, trying my best to control the tremor in my voice. I'm on my way right now. When I arrived at the school, a small crowd had already gathered in the parking lot, pointing and staring toward one of the academic buildings. The principal and several school administrators stood at the entrance of a building, their faces grim, looking as if they were facing a major crisis. From a distance, I could hear sharp crying and the angry, impatient voice of a woman. Mia had never been one to cry, and now she was being pushed to this. I hurried through the crowd. Mia Miller, get in the car. I'm your mother. Why are you being so distant with me? I just want to take you out to have some fun. Laura was speaking exasperated. Leo was trying to mediate with a fake gentle tone. Hey, come on, Laura. Don't be so hard on the kid. Mia's just a little shy. Come on, Mia. Be a good girl and say hi to Uncle. Uncle will buy you the newest doll set. Okay? Sharp crack. Laura was stunned by a slap from her father. She stared at us in disbelief. Seriously? What's the big deal? I just wanted to take Mia out to play. What's wrong with that? Mia scrambled toward me, half running, half falling. Dad! Her cry, thick with tears, hit my ears. Her face was soaked. Her arm was bright red from being grabbed, with scratch marks on it. I pulled my daughter behind me, shielding her tightly, and looked at Laura and Leo. Laura, what do you think you're doing? Being publicly confronted by a group of people. Laura flew into a rage. What's wrong with taking my own daughter out for a bit? I'm her mother. It's my right to take my daughter out to have fun. What right do you have to interfere? She pointed at Mia, behind me. Look at her. Look at what you've taught her. Yelling at her elders. No manners at all. She's completely disgraced the Vance family name. She grew more agitated as she spoke, spittle flying. Leo quickly and solicitously tried to pull her arm. Laura, don't be like that. You're scaring the child. He turned to me, putting on an innocent and pitiful expression, his voice feigning sincerity. Mr. Miller, please don't misunderstand. Laura, I just saw that Mia didn't seem to like me very much, so I wanted to buy her a gift to get closer to her, to make her happy. I swung my hand back and slapped him hard across his handsome face. Leo staggered back a step, the gift box dropping from his hand with a dull thud. A clear handprint instantly rose on his cheek. You dare hit me? Leo shrieked, clutching his face. I'm the one who hit you, I said, stepping closer. Whether my daughter likes you or not has nothing to do with you. Who the hell do you think you are? Are you even worthy of trying to influence her? My aggressive advance made Leo shrink back. His eyes welled up, and he turned to grab Laura's arm, his voice breaking into a sob. Laura, look at him. Laura's face darkened completely. She shielded Leo behind her, standing like a wall in front of me, glaring. Jacob Miller, don't you go too far? If you have a problem, take it up with me. Laura was slapped again, this time by her father. Laura, even a vicious tiger won't harm its own young. You brought this worthless piece of trash here to humiliate your own daughter in public. Do you even have a heart? Laura's cheek twitched as she was berated, but she couldn't find a single word to retort. The school security footage was the final straw. The video clearly showed Laura and two bodyguards forcibly dragging Mia toward a car. Laura's sharp rebukes, Leo's attempts to get close to the child, and Mia's desperate screams were all recorded. Laura was ordered to move out of the Vance family home. That night, I was summoned to the study in the main house. My father-in-law sat behind a large desk, his expression somber. My mother-in-law sat in a velvet chair beside him. Her expression softened when she saw me. Laura had infuriated everyone today. Jacob, my father-in-law began, his voice no longer thundering with the rage from school, but filled with concern. With a deep weariness, we've failed you, raising such a disastrous daughter. And we've failed the two children, giving them a mother like that. His gaze slowly swept over me, then settled on a point in the distance. Jacob, things have come to this. We must make plans for your and the children's future. He looked at the family lawyer, Mr. Roth, his tone carrying its usual unchallengeable authority. Roth? Yes, Mr. Vance. Mr. Roth immediately took 2 documents from his briefcase. The covers were stamped with the gold Vance family crest and a prominent line in English: Irrevocable Trust Agreement. It seemed my father-in-law was finally ready to give up on Laura completely. These 2 irrevocable trust agreements have been repeatedly reviewed by the legal department, Mr. Roth said, handing them to me. First, the trust structure. The shares of the Vance Group held by Miss Mia and Master Ben will, effective immediately, be placed into 2 separate family trusts. Until Miss Mia and Master Ben come of age, Mr. Jacob Miller, as the sole designated guardian, will exercise all management and execution rights over the assets within the trusts, including but not limited to shares, dividends, profits, and their derivative interests. Second, Mr. Roth continued, his gold-rimmed glasses making him look exceptionally professional. During the existence of these trusts, any legal or financial disputes arising from Ms. Laura Vance's personal affairs, including but not limited to debts, personal share transfers, or marital changes, shall not for any reason be used to pursue, freeze, or claim rights over the assets within these trusts. He spoke quickly and clearly, closing off any possibility of a third party getting their hands on the shares. In the American legal system, an irrevocable trust is an ironclad guarantee. Sign it, Jacob, my father-in-law's deep voice rumbled. From now on, everything the Vance family has is in your hands. Walking out into the courtyard, Laura had already packed her bags, ready to run away from home and cut ties with her parents. The process had been completed without her knowledge. For me, the signed agreement was a huge relief. From now on, Laura could no longer touch the core interests of the Vance Group. Everything the Vance family had now belonged to me and my children. In truth, Laura's daily antics had long ago drained me of all affection and patience. She thought I was jealous, fighting for her attention. In reality, all I cared about was the Vance family fortune. She could give her true love to whomever she pleased. I didn't care. For the rest of my life, I would no longer have to deal with Laura Vance. She could go wherever she wanted. It would be best if she just dropped dead. It didn't matter how many scandals she created. They were just fodder for gossip. The internet was right. Once a person has billions, their mindset changes completely. They don't take anyone seriously. I believed it now. Seeing me, Laura wore a look of disdain. What? Came out to gloat, Jacob Miller? You don't really think my parents will kick me out, do you? I'm their only daughter, the future heiress of the Vance Group. You know what that means, don't you? You'd better think long and hard about the weight of that title. I can guarantee you, within a month, Mom and Dad will personally come and beg me to come back. I've done plenty of ridiculous things growing up, and my parents have forgiven me every single time. This time will be no different. I didn't argue with her. Now that I had the money, there was no need to indulge in petty verbal victories. Talking to a brainless person like her was a complete waste of time. Watching Laura's car disappear into the distance, I smiled. Laura, oh Laura, since you want to make a bet, then I'll make you a promise. I promise you're not coming back. You're really not coming back. You're going to die a miserable death out there. In this world, there's nothing I can't do. It's all just a matter of time. So just you wait. Epilogue. Relax, I'm my mom's only daughter. How could she possibly disown me? I was sure of it. My mom was just trying to scare me. Hee hee, I am a high society heiress. That is the thing I am most proud of in this life. As I said this, Howard the butler stood opposite me, cautiously trying to reason with me. Miss, you've really gone too far this time. The master and madam are both very angry. Howard watched me grow up, so I know he means well. But I wasn't having it. Howard, you can go. You're too rigid. You just don't get me. After what happened, everyone started criticizing me, calling me a flirt. But honestly, what did I do wrong? I just happened to find true love and wanted to divorce my husband. What's the big deal? Money, in my eyes, isn't important at all. All I want is true love. There are so many temptations in the world. Am I to blame? Leo brought me a glass of water. Laura, are you thirsty? I'm sorry I'm the one who put you in this difficult position. I immediately pulled him into my arms. To me, Leo is the kindest, most gentle boy in the world, and he's definitely not after my money. That's what I admire most about him. Unlike my husband and my parents, who are always talking about money. Even though my husband Jacob is from the same social class as me, his mind is always on money. So tacky. He could never be as relaxed and carefree as I am. It makes me angry just thinking about it. Last month, my parents told me to break up with Leo immediately. To rebel against them, I secretly sent a rather important business proposal to my dad's competitor, causing him a measly billion-dollar loss. It was such a small thing, but my father flew into a rage and told me to get out. And another thing, I just dozed off while holding my son and accidentally dropped him. My mom actually slapped me. My God, I have never been so wronged in my entire life. In the afternoon, I drove my sports car back to the family estate. This time, Howard didn't even greet me when he saw me. I was furious. I am the sole heir of the Vance family. How dare Amir, Butler, disrespect me? Even though I'm not a petty. I couldn't accept his coldness. I am the sole heir of the Vance family, the top of New York's 3 great dynasties. The world is supposed to revolve around me. I walked into the living room with Leo on my arm. He was wearing a limited edition couture suit. On his wrist was a limited edition designer watch I'd given him, sparkling brilliantly. Leo is the person who loves me most in the world, and I must give him the best of everything. Entering the living room, I greeted the housekeeper very politely. Mrs. Diaz has known me since I was a child. Even though I was in a bad mood, there was no need to take it out on her. There's an unwritten rule in our circle of heiresses. You can be morally bankrupt, but you can't be rude. As the most generous heiress in our circle, I naturally live by that. Dad, Mom, I said, greeting my parents. What did you want to see me about? Leo sat next to me, looking a little nervous. It made my heart ache for him even more. Shut up, my mother said, looking at me coldly. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was incredibly intimidating. I was stunned. I was frail and sickly as a child, and it was a miracle I survived. My grandparents always spoiled me rotten and never allowed my parents to interfere with my upbringing, so I had never been treated like this. Laura, take a good look at the trashy headlines you've been making lately. How can you be so shameless? My mother yelled, throwing a newspaper in front of me. I felt a little guilty, but then I remembered I was the sole Vance heir, and that guilt quickly vanished. I held Leo's hand tightly to reassure him. Mom, I know you like Jacob. I used to like him too, but now I'm over him. I want a divorce. I know you're prejudiced against Leo, but I'm an educated adult. I have the right to make my own choices. You can't force love. I don't understand why my parents are so stubborn. You disgrace, my dad said suddenly after a long silence. Is this how you find happiness? By selling out the company and abandoning your husband and children? Laura, if I'd known you'd turn out like this, we would have been better off raising a pile of bricks. I was unfazed. In fact, I was starting to resent my parents. My father is a kind man, but for some reason, he was always strict with me. When I was little, my mother's health was poor after giving birth to me, and she was often sick. My grandparents were afraid she would pass her illness on to me, so they insisted on raising me themselves. My parents were sad, but they couldn't refuse. Later, my mother's health worsened, and my father took her to the United States for treatment. By the time she fully recovered, I was already 5. My mother was filled with guilt, holding me and crying, saying she had missed my childhood. I wasn't moved at all. Because my parents were both paragons of virtue, Ivy League graduates, they always demanded I do the right thing, that I take my studies seriously. But I hated studying more than anything. My grandparents, on the other hand, were different. They loved me the most and spoiled me. Loved me unconditionally. I'm so glad they raised me. Otherwise, my life would have been miserable. My dad started nagging again. How has Jacob wronged you? And what about the children? They're so young. Is this how you act as a mother? I couldn't be bothered to answer, so I stayed silent. To be honest, deep down I looked down on my dad a little. I didn't think he was any more capable than me. He was just a bit luckier. His indecisive personality was completely unsuited for the cutthroat world of business. But the media called him a benevolent entrepreneur, a true gentleman respected by many of his competitors. That's hilarious. He's not even in my league. Okay, if someone crossed me, I would crush them completely and show them what's what. My mother spoke up too, telling me to break things off with Leo immediately. Leo turned to look at me, tears streaming down his face. Laura, I'm sorry. No matter what I do, your mother will never like me. I should just leave. I don't want to make things difficult for you. My parents' words finally set me off. I smashed a vase on the table. Dad, Mom, can you just stop? Do you have to talk like this? Leo truly loves me. Why do you have to push him like this? Yes, he doesn't come from a good background. He grew up in the slums of New York. His mother was once a rich man's mistress, and he's an illegitimate child. But it's not like Leo could choose any of that. He's had a hard life, can't you see? Besides, it's not like Jacob's family background is that much better. Why are you so pleased with him? Jacob and I did like each other at first. I first met him during my teenage years. He was a pitiful sight, having lost his mother at such a young age. His father had fallen in love with the woman who killed his mother and even married her. Ever since Jacob's stepmother moved in, his life became difficult. The first time we met, I saw his stepbrother bullying him and immediately stepped in. Many years later, when Jacob and I were married, he told me that he had remembered me ever since that day and was always grateful to me. Back then, he loved me deeply, almost worshipped me. And I love protecting people. A few years went by like that, and I started to feel bored. I like people who are completely obedient to me, and Jacob could never be that person. To be frank, he's actually a very outstanding man. He was accepted to Cornell at 16 with a full scholarship. As for me, the only reason I graduated from college abroad was because my dad donated a few buildings. After joining the Vance Group, Jacob quickly achieved great results. I, on the other hand, created one mess after another and was even impeached by the board of directors. The funny thing is, my dad actually fired me. In a fit of anger, I just quit. Whatever, I'll always have endless money to spend. No matter what happens, I'm the sole heir to the Vance family. When I successfully inherit the Vance Group, I'll dissolve the board and fire everyone who impeached me. I'll also kick Jacob out of the company. I'm the rightful heir, but he gets all the spotlight, making me live in his shadow. It's humiliating. I can't stand this humiliation. My eldest, Mia, is very smart and hardworking. My parents adore that little one and are even grooming her to be the next heir.